Hello,
Good morning. I'm Jen,
I'm Kimberly, and this
and
is
this is
That
that
Vegan Morning
vegan
Show.
morning show. We're getting really good at that.
We are. Good morning, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Kimberly?
I am also good. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. I forgot to mention in our little catch up we just had before going live that amongst going, we celebrated my husband's birthday a little early. We went to see Jessica Kirson in New Jersey, which we were talking about. And we went to Veganized, which was a restaurant you had recommended in New Brunswick that was really, really good. I have pictures I have to show you later. We got really
Yes.
good burgers. My non-vegan husband really, really loved it. So
Yay.
bonus points to them. And then yesterday morning, before going to a family bar mitzvah in Brooklyn, I forgot to tell you this part. I finally got my hair done. It was long overdue. I haven't gotten it done since like June, and like it was driving me crazy. And it's such a time investment and a money investment, but I just couldn't take it anymore. So
Yeah.
I was like, since I'm going to an event,
Mhm.
I might as well get it done. So that was the thing that I forgot to tell you that I did is I finally got my hair done.
Nice. I have not got my hair done in so long, and I dyed my hair blue for a while, and I've really missed that. And now I'm just like letting my hair be brown and gray. And by the way, good morning, Richard. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Richard. Hello. And well, well, your hair looks lovely, Kimberly, first of all.
It's all my
And I
sparkles.
think all your sparkles, yes. And but hey, if you ever decide to go blue, that would be pretty awesome also.
I do miss it. It just like we sold the house last year, and I was dyeing the tub blue like every couple of weeks. And so it was like, how do I keep the tub from being blue while we're trying to get the house on the market and all of that? And I just had to accept that it just wasn't possible. So I had to stop doing it, and I just haven't gone back to it. And now it almost feels like, do I really want all those chemicals on my head all the time? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, maybe I'll do it again. I did love it.
Well,
I
anyway,
felt so me with blue hair.
I love the color blue.
Yeah, me too. It's my fave.
Same. But your hair looks lovely the way it is too. So
Oh,
just wanted to
thank
say
you.
that. But what did you do this weekend?
A whole lot of not a whole lot. Um, we finished the season 3 of From, which we had been
Mm.
putting off because the first 2 episodes, actually between the first and second episode that we had watched like months ago, it took us months to get in between those 2 episodes in, because the first episode was so intense and emotional and sad that we were like,
Mhm.
we can't go back to this right now. We don't need this. The world's a mess. I don't need to be more sad. And finally we were like, we're gonna, we're trying to save some money here and there, and we're like, we don't even watch MGM except for From, so we should finish From and then we'll cancel it. And so we binged season 3 of From, and then we watched Smile 2 last night because it was also on MGM, and I had some trouble sleeping.
I wonder why.
Right. I'm probably going to be a little creeped out by people smiling at me today. We'll see how it goes. And then we just did some stuff around the house. My parents sent us some furniture, and so we're trying to like organize around that and just like continue to get settled in. Like, we moved in December and we haven't fully gotten settled in, so we're being more intentional and mindful around that too. So that was my weekend.
That
Super
sounds like
fun.
that does sound like a fun at-home weekend.
Yeah.
And I feel like it takes a really long time to feel fully settled in. Like when my husband and I moved, we've been living here now a little over 2 years, and we were here for about a year before we were like, you know what? We still need to put pictures on the wall. Like so a year in, we're like, oh, let's start putting our pictures up. I feel like it's always like a process of just getting settled into a place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sounds like a great
Yep.
weekend.
Yeah, yours too. So, why don't you kick us off with today's topic?
Yes. Wow. There's a lot that's been happening in the vegan news world. And we were so busy covering other amazing things and having guests that we didn't have a time to first talk about 11 Madison Park when it first hit the news. And in a moment, I can recap what happened there if no one is familiar. But since that news broke, there's been a lot of other news and trends and things. And so we were like, okay, maybe we should, now's the time we could talk about 11 Madison Park, even though it happened about a month ago, because now there's other things that kind of tie in with that theme. So I'm really excited to have this conversation. So today's topic is when restaurants and brands disappear and what it means for veganism. So 11 Madison Park is a very upscale restaurant in New York City. I've never been. Have you, Kimberly?
No.
I've heard of it, but I never was on like my list of places because there's so many other amazing vegan places in New York City. And then I didn't realize how expensive it is.
Uh-huh. It was my bucket list place. I thought, I was like, maybe when I turn 50, I can justify like $700 for my meal. Maybe.
Right. You know what though? For $700, I feel like I could throw a completely different kind of party.
Yeah, for sure.
With still amazing food. But yeah, definitely I feel like would have been a cool bucket list place for something really special. But the owner recently they went plant-based in 2021. So they went to a vegan menu, and I was reviewing some of it. I always go to Ed Winters. He's so great for like summarizing things for me. So he did a video recently when the news broke about it. So I was watching that early this morning, just kind of like to refresh my memory on what happened. And in 2021, the owner said that he realized the impact and the harm that animal agriculture was causing, right? So it seemed like 11 Madison Park was turning into a vegan restaurant because he cared about animals, right?
Right.
Then things changed. Right. They're changing, they want to basically change to incorporating meat and animal products back into their menu because from what I understand, if I remember correctly, I have it in my notes somewhere and now I'm having trouble finding it, but basically they want to be like more inclusive, right? Like all of a sudden, because vegan food apparently isn't inclusive.
Right. Meanwhile, everybody can eat it, but okay.
Everybody can eat. It's like a win-win, right? Everyone can eat it. And it's also great for people who have allergy issues. If you have a dairy allergy, right? There are people who have seafood allergies too, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, veganism is a win-win for everyone because you cater to people who don't want to participate in animal cruelty. You support people with seafood and dairy allergies, and everybody can eat it. And if your food tastes amazing, then who should really care if there's an animal in it, right? So so this whole like veganism is not inclusive part is frustrating. So this is part of a trend that's been happening lately, or at least being broadcast lately in media. And then what made us want to talk about this is like a week or two ago, the famous brand Yves, spelled Yves. They are owned by the Hanes Celestial is it corporation or company? I know it's Hanes Celestial. Is the company that owns them. And they have decided to stop carrying their plant-based meat products, which have been around for a really long time. Like
Mhm.
I've had their cold cuts, their meat crumbles are really good. And even though I haven't bought them in a while, only because I don't do processed stuff so much, but sometimes I do. Um, their deli meat stuff is great for when you want to have, you could have a deli platter with them, with their products, and they're really good. And it's just disappointing because now they want to close this down because they want to focus on more profitable uh, items, from what I understand. And so, yeah, there's been this trend of other restaurants closing. I could say for in New York City, there was a popular one, Blossom. I don't know. Have you ever been to Blossom before,
Yeah.
Kimberly?
Yep.
Yeah. And so the last time I went there was June of last year. And then August, like 2 months later, month and a half later from me being there, they shut down.
Mhm.
So there's this narrative floating around out there that veganism's not profitable. So people are either incorporating meat back into their menus or they're shutting down. And so that's a lot. That's me setting up this topic for today. I feel like
Mhm.
I've spoken a lot, Kimberly. What do you have to say about all of this?
No, it's all good. Thank you for that. Did you notice I needed to go back to the article. Did they say the Eve's brand or Hain Celestial, did they say what their more profitable products are?
Yeah, I
Because I
didn't.
thought the company was all vegetarian. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I am not
interesting.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't have the exact statement, but from what I understand, I have to pull up the article, but from what I understand, that's what they're doing. Did
Yeah, I do
you?
remember they said that, and I meant to go back because like I said, I thought the company was at least vegetarian. So I don't know what is more profitable than, like their deli meats, which are really popular.
Mhm.
They were the first ones that I ate back in the early 2000s. So I remember being just like floored by how good they were because I didn't expect it.
Mhm.
Um, and then with Chef Daniel Hum at 11 Madison Park, I was so disappointed because I had attended virtually his talk at the 92nd Street Y.
Mm.
And it was so inspiring because he talked about his book, and the book that he put together was his notes from when he decided to change 11 Madison Park over to being plant-based. And the book, I didn't buy it because it was like $85. But it's like a big hardcover, kind of coffee table book, and it's got like these beautiful drawings of onions and radishes and like all kinds of veggies, and kind of his thoughts and his notes as he worked through the process. My favorite thing about creativity is the process, and when
Mhm.
someone shows you their process, I am so into that. And just the way he spoke about how he was feeling about making this significant shift because he knew what it meant for the animals, he knew what it meant for our health, for the planet, and just how meaningful it was to then come out and be like you had said, we're trying to be more inclusive by including animals. It like hurt me because I had spent this time with him, listening to him talking about this inspiration, and I found myself while he was talking during that, like kind of like writing notes about what do I want to do, drawing, and I am not an artist in picture form. So for me to be drawing things and not like judging myself while I'm doing it is like wild. And so like I walked away from that talk just so like, wow, like we can do anything, and just really inspired. So it really like really hurt me. But the other thing too with all of this is one of those articles that we came across. like started off with, is veganism dead?
Right.
And here are my thoughts on that. I wrote them down. So if I look down, I'm making sure that I don't miss anything.
I'm excited to hear this. I want to hear your thoughts.
So my thought is that it's not dead because some restaurant that most of us can't even afford to go to has decided to include animals back in their menu. And that it's not dead because sales of plant-based meats, and this isn't specific to Eve's, I'll get to that. Sale of plant-based meats created by companies who have no intention of ever stopping their production of animals has dropped. And that an iconic vegan brand shutters their doors. Veganism is only dead when we stop fighting.
Mm-hmm.
When we stop showing up and telling people the truth, when we stop, being vegan in all of the ways. So often in the news, veganism is talked about from the food perspective. And the food perspective is important because we all have to eat. And every vegan is eating multiple times a day. So we are voting with our dollars. We are using food as a way to boycott a system that is made to harm everyone except for the people on the top.
Mm-hmm.
So veganism is only dead when we give up.
I agree with everything you just said right there, right? More of a reason for us to stay firmly grounded in our values, right? And it's very disappointing because I wasn't following 11 Medicine like you were, but I know I would be even more disappointed to, because you think someone's being authentic and sharing how they feel about something, and you think they're in alignment with how you feel about something, and it's like, great, they're talking about this, they're setting the example. And they could have set the example, but here's the thing, they're a very expensive restaurant that caters to a very specific clientele. And New York City is also very expensive. So I don't think we should judge veganism based on how restaurants do in New York City, because the rent there is insane. I moved from Brooklyn 2 years ago because the rent there is insane. It's very expensive to live in New York City. And, some areas are more pricier than others, but it is just insanely expensive. And always. Plus, they have congestion pricing and all these different things there. It's very expensive to go there. So I don't think we should use what happens in New York City to judge all of veganism. And to add to that, there's a lot of other vegan restaurants in New York City. They're doing amazing. So,
yeah,
they're all not sinking. And yes, there are some that are still struggling. Like Peace Food, I know, is having challenges. They've posted about it on Instagram. So I know that that's a challenge. So there's that piece. And then, again, with what you were saying, we have to more of a reason to fight. And what you were saying about news stories, I shared with you over the weekend this article I came across that the BBC posted. The title was "Vegan Ice Cream Mistake Could Have Killed Our Son." So I'm like, oh no, this is going to be clickbait, but I have to see how the vegan ice cream tried to kill their son, right? It was the mission of the vegan ice cream to go after their son, right? Because that's how the headline sounded, right? Read the article, and the restaurant served ice cream that they told the parents that was vegan, and apparently the ice cream was dairy ice cream. So there was some kind of a mistake. They were saying that it was the result of of a supply order or something. It was some issue with a supply order. But that's not vegan ice cream, right? It's the mistake of who served the ice cream,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? But that no one's gonna click an article that says that, right?
Right.
So, and it kind of reminded me of what we were talking about a while back, early on in our when we launched our show about the vegans and the chegans and how
Mhm.
celebrities go out there and they talk about how veganism almost killed them, but then they only ate spinach, right?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
how veganism almost killed them and they only ate like, like a handful of like, these bizarre, restricted diets that, and again, veganism is not a diet, it's a
Mhm.
lifestyle, right? Diet is a part of it, but it's not the only part of it. So I feel like a lot of these like I'm like blanking out on the word now, these headlines that are like deceptive, there we go,
Oh, yeah.
deceptive, that's a good word, very
Yeah.
deceptive headlines. And not everyone's going to take the time to do research and read, or and people are, and if anyone who wants to argue against veganism, they're just going to see the headline and be like, well, I read how veganism almost killed Cindy Lauper.
Mhm.
Right? Or I heard that. Well, she only eats spinach.
Right, and she admitted that.
Yeah, exactly. But these are the things, this is what I think is really hurting veganism, is these deceptive news stories. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts on that, Kimberly?
So I think so, and I think that the we're up against so much because vegans are such a tiny percentage of the world's population. And humans are conditioned now that animals are here for our use, our convenience, our entertainment, whatever it is that we're going to do to them, we are willing and able, and that is a-okay. And so we're up against this whole like kind of world cultural idea that this is how you live and that you
Mhm.
deserve to have animals on your plate and you have earned the right as a human because you're better than them. And we see how we as humans even do that to other humans throughout our history, how we have othered people and
Mhm.
we have worked to wipe out types of people, different cultures and stuff throughout the world over our history. And so we've hit this point where as humans, the majority of us believe that we can do whatever we want whenever we want, no matter the impact. And we see how technology is changing, what we're doing to the
Mhm.
planet. And so we as vegans are fighting this cultural idea that I should never be inconvenienced. But, like, being a vegan in a non-vegan world, our whole life is inconvenient. We are constantly having to read labels and make sure and ask questions. We're even, people who are, respecting us and wanna make sure they have something that we can eat or they gift us something that is appropriate to give to a vegan for our birthday or a holiday. Even within that, like, we are just fighting every day to have people just be like, "Hey, these animals are suffering at a rate that is unconscionable."
Mhm.
And so how this ties back to what you were just saying is that people in the news are people who are more likely than not vegan, and very often might be people who hate vegans. And so we also have become this culture of humans who are like, and that's not recent. I mean, we look at the news and how people love watching like stories of murders and seeing like
Mhm.
bad things happen to other people. We want to see that article that tells us something awful happened, and that's why the clickbait works. They're like, oh, vegan ice cream almost killed a kid, I gotta read this. And then they
Yeah.
read the article and they realize that's not what happened at all. But people who are writing these articles know that that's what's getting people. And that actually reminds me of uh and you already know this story, but like sometime, I think it was last year, we were on a networking call and we were in breakout rooms. So you and I were not in the same room, but there was a young man who told me that even though he felt like he was or should be my podcast audience, that he has never listened to an episode because my titles are not controversial enough, because I focus too much on my guests, because there's no hook to be like, "Oh, what is this crazy thing that's happening to make them listen?" And that's not me. I have zero interest. And we do it here a little bit sometimes. We know we're getting people interested in like what we're going to talk about, but that's not my podcast. Like our morning show is a different type of thing. But there is this culture of like just violence, and we as vegans are fighting that every day, and we are faced with the violence that the animals are facing and the violence against us, the way people speak to us, the things people will do in front of us, the way articles are written. It's just, we have a long road. And sometimes, like this morning, I am feeling like I will never see a huge boom of veganism in my lifetime. But then I have other times where, when we're in our little vegan bubble, where I'm like, "Oh, of course we are. There's so many of us doing so many different things. We're hitting this from so many avenues." So I don't know how to end that, but that's where all of what you said took me.
Wow, I have a lot to say in all of that. So
Yes,
thank you
please.
for bringing all of that up. I remember when you told me about that commentary you
Mhm.
received, and I was infuriated because your podcast is amazing and authentic. And excuse me. And yeah, excuse me, I need water. I have a lot to say and then I got a dry throat. Yeah, your podcast is amazing because it's authentic. And I just want to say there's a difference between good copywriting and
Mhm.
clickbait, right?
Yes.
Like we're doing, I feel like how we title our shows and we write about what they're going to be about is just good copywriting
Yeah, 'cause it's
versus
honest.
it's
Yeah.
honest, right? And we're not being deceptive. We're not saying
Mhm.
something and then not actually being truthful about it.
Right.
And so, first of all, I want to say there's a big difference between being, doing something for the sake of clickbait and then, um, just good copywriting.
Yes. Thank you for
And
clarifying that.
yeah, there's definitely a big difference with that. And yeah, so you, of course, you want things to be marketable, but you have an audience and you do have people who love and appreciate "Did you bring the hummus?" Why wouldn't they? It's amazing.
Right?
Um,
Thank
but you
you.
know what? People who can't appreciate that, they're not your people, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's something that I've had to work on, with the confident vegan and just being more visible, is you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And so
Mhm.
anyone listening out there, if you have a platform or you don't have a platform, not everyone's not going to agree with you, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't stand true to who you are and what's important to you.
Yeah.
Um another person who's really disappointed me recently in the past few months, I think his name is Ben Rebuck.
Mhm.
And yeah, and he had, I used to love watching his vegan recipes, veganizing all kinds of, cultural dishes, and just loved the spin that he did on it. And then about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I'm not sure, everything just kind of blurs together, but recently ish, I'm watching him and he's like twice as nice. And he does a non-vegan version of a recipe and a vegan version recipe. And I'm like, what's happening here?
Mhm.
And then now that's his trend. And I guess he's trying to do it from a place of trying to be, again, inclusive, right?
Mhm.
Trying to be inclusive. And I saw like comments how like people who live in non-vegan households find value in it because it feels inclusive to them. But again, vegan food is inclusive, right? Kind of bringing it back to what we were talking about at the beginning.
Mhm.
Food is inclusive. And I think there should be more of a focus on sharing, because I know I've had a lot of impact when I've shared vegan food that I've made or shared recipes that are vegan with non-vegan friends and family, because that's an opportunity to plant seeds. Maybe they won't go vegan tomorrow. It took me 2 years to go vegan, right?
Mhm.
So, but we should be standing firmly in our values, because that's still, again, it's inclusive. Being vegan is inclusive. It's not excluding anybody.
Mhm.
And it's an opportunity to bring the world together through plants and clarify any misunderstandings about it. And so it's just really frustrating how there's this trend of, oh, we have to be inclusive as a content creator, or we have to be inclusive as a restaurant.
Mm-mm. It's about money.
Yeah,
It's all about money.
it's all about money. And but I feel like, but there's a lot of people who are successful as vegan content creators and
Yeah.
people who are successful as vegan restaurant owners. You know what? The restaurant industry is hard as it is. I've watched a lot of episodes of Kitchen Nightmares over the years. Like, it's just, separate veganism for a moment. The restaurant industry is hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. So I feel like there's a lot of other things here that are getting blamed on veganism that
Yeah.
maybe aren't necessarily about veganism. They're about other factors like money
Mhm.
or marketing, or people are caving under pressure because of somebody else. I don't know. What do you have to say about all that, Kimberly?
Yeah, I agree. And it made me think of like all of those articles over the years that I've seen that like, a child dies because they were malnourished. And the first thing is like vegan parents, child dies because they were forced to be vegan. But meanwhile, it just happened that the parents believed in eating from the ground. It wasn't even a vegan perspective. It was, we only eat natural things and no one goes to the doctor, and we don't take care of our things. Like, we're going to live on air and a couple of pieces of fruit and some vegetables every day, or some, like, it's always something so much more
Mm-hmm.
drastic, and it has absolutely nothing to do with veganism. But somebody who puts someone else in danger eats plants, and it's like, oh, look at this vegan person has, something crazy has happened. And it is, I think, because ultimately, I think it's because people are afraid of vegans, and because we make people think about what they're doing on a personal level and what they're
Mm-hmm.
contributing to, and they don't want to face that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think yeah, individually, like, vegans just we make people afraid, because not only do they have to face what they are doing, they have proof right in front of them that you can push beyond that, and you can stand up and live in your values and stand in your values, like you were saying, and be the person you actually are meant to be, and not just following what everyone else is doing. And it
Mm-hmm.
comes back to, like, I remember people talking, like, most of the people I know who have had kids, most of the kids are grown up now, but it was always like when they would ask me, "Do you think you'll have kids? Will you make them vegan?" And the same way, like, any parent that feeds their kid anything makes their kid that thing. So, "Oh, okay, well, are you gonna make your kids meat eaters?" And they were like, "What? That's not a thing." Except it is,
It
because
is.
it's the same way that, you're in a Jewish household, you raise your kids Jewish. Your kids don't get a say in that. You're in a Catholic household, you raise your kids Catholic. And then you make your kids do this thing, and sometimes they hit an age and they go, "I'm not doing that anymore." And sometimes they keep it going. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they keep it going because they don't ever question it. oh, well, this is just what we've always done. Everyone in my family is X. So I'm X. And that's just how it is. And when we look at what humans are capable of, we need to stop thinking, well, we've always done it this way. Because unfortunately, a lot of the things we've always done this way are fucking wrong.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. And I think, that's why we have a lot of crazy shit happening in the world right now. That's, that's a whole other
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
a whole other talk show, but
Indeed.
but right, like, but that's the thing, right? You really hit the nail right there. Because we've always done X, this is how it has to be.
Mhm.
And you know what? No, it doesn't have to be that way. You know what? Women couldn't have a credit card in the 70s, right? I think it was like
Right?
the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Right? Hello, that was how it was always done, right? So,
Mhm.
right, like we really need to think critically about things and bring critical thinking back
Yeah,
to
I'm
the
glad you said
planet.
that because I was gonna say it is non-existent in so many people.
And more of a reason why I think it's so important for you and I to keep doing the things that we're doing, both here and on Did You Bring the Hummus and the Confident Vegan and all the other platforms that are out there and the restaurants and whatever you're doing to contribute to the vegan movement. Even if you don't have a platform, but you just have a family and or you're the only vegan in your family and you just keep staying true to who you are, it's all important because the more of us who stay true to our values, will stay true to our values in other things in life
Mhm.
too. And we've talked about this before too, Kimberly, that, peace starts with our plate. If we're respectful about all sentient beings, then we would be respectful about human beings as well
Mhm.
and how we treat them.
Yes.
Um, to wrap this up on a more positive note, I can't believe we've gone over. I feel like we could
Yes,
talk on and
yes,
on.
yes.
I just wanted to end this on like a different note that ties
Mhm.
in is we were recently talking about there was an article about how Reese's and Oreos are doing a fun collaboration. Oreos, a lot of Oreo products are accidentally vegan, and there's I don't know if it came out yet or it's about to come out. There's a Reese's Oreo coming out or is out now, and it's
Mhm.
also vegan. And so here's an example of, companies are still, doing things that are supportive to the vegan movement. And you don't see Oreo being upset that they're not a vegan product, but you don't see them being
Right.
upset when vegan people talk about them,
Mhm. Right.
right? Because it helps them, right? You
Mhm.
get more
Yeah.
vegans backing you up. You just added a whole new group who's gonna, or not new, but you just have another audience, right?
Mhm.
So instead of looking at vegans as annoying, or they're going to cost you money, and businesses should look at vegans as another audience that can enjoy your products and your services or whatever it is that you're offering, right? It's another audience. And so if something's not working in your business, is it because of the audience or is it because of other factors? And so, you know, but I just wanted to bring up the Oreo collaboration
Yeah.
with Reese's because I think I need to try those.
Yeah, agreed. So Reese's, they've taken the dairy out of the Reese's Pieces. However, they're still not vegan because they have shellac on the
Oh, yes,
coating.
there's a Reese's Pieces
Yeah.
announcement too as well.
And
Yeah.
then they also are taking the dairy out of their peanut butter chips, which to
Mm.
me is amazing because when I was vegetarian, I used to bake peanut butter cookies that were the greatest peanut butter cookies in the world because they
Mhm.
had peanut butter chips in them. And I have not been able to make that same cookie veganized because I cannot anywhere find vegan peanut butter chips. Why is Reese's the first company to do that? Why has there not been a vegan company that makes chocolate chips go, huh, we should make peanut butter chips? Everybody in the US anyway loves peanut butter. I know there are other countries they don't even have peanut butter, which is like, whoa. But but like, why has no one made those yet? So now Reese's is the company that's going to do it. And you're going to have to make sure you read the label because they're going to release them, but the
Mhm.
stores will likely have both the dairy-free version and the original. And so you'll have to make sure that you pick up the right one. But that is really exciting. But then also, going back to what I said before about these companies who create vegan products, uh, but have no intention of taking all of the animal products out of their business. Like, this is another example of that. But
Mhm.
if this is the only place that we can get peanut butter chips and we decide we want peanut butter chips, and I know I've been living without them for, 10 years, I don't know. I feel like this is another episode. I'm going to stop talking.
That's okay. It is another episode, and I can't wait for you to make me those cookies.
Yeah, I will.
I don't know if you knew you were making me those cookies, but now you do. I'm putting in
I'm
my
happy
order.
to do it.
I'm putting in my order.
Yes, you got it.
Um, yeah, this is, I knew this was going to be a loaded topic, but it's like as I'm talking about it, it really brings up a lot of feelings. And, you know, I think, I would love to hear what our audience member. Oh, Richard would
Yep,
reject us too. Yeah.
you got it. Cookies for everybody.
I can't wait. Your chocolate chip cookies were amazing, which the recipe for those are in our little recipe booklet.
They
We haven't
are.
promoted
Yep.
that in a while. So me and Kimberly have, if you sign up for our mailing list, we have an amazing recipe booklet that have Kimberly's amazing chocolate chip cookies in there. So if you want some really good chocolate chip cookies, I've had them before. I think you should sign up for our mailing list and get them.
Agreed.
Just
Thank
wanted
you.
to put that plug in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, because we've gone a little bit long, and that's okay. This is a very great topic. I think we've had a really good, well-rounded discussion.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on everything me and Kimberly just talked about? And are there other places, other examples of this that you would like to share? If there's some other angle or some other company, restaurant situation that falls into this category that you would like me and Kimberly to talk about? Would you like us to do a part 2 on this? So we would love to hear all of your thoughts on that. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to say before we wrap up, Kimberly?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you
Sounds
for that solid wrap up, Jen.
You're welcome. Thank you for reminding me about cookies.
You're welcome.
All right. On that note, we hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye
Yeah.
for now.
Bye.